Gritaradio. Señal binaria en tus oídos. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos el día de hoy. Estamos, pues, como les dijimos hace ratito, desde la entrevista pasada, pues, con uno de los creadores y los amos y señores de un gran festival, que la verdad es que cuando lo hemos visto a lo largo de muchos años, dijimos, ¿quién estará haciendo este festival? Queremos ir y de repente no sabíamos quién estaba haciendo y por azares del destino y por azares de que le pusimos una velita al Popocatépetl, al final de cuentas lo logramos porque logramos llegar a uno de los creadores de un gran festival. Es un festival que se hace con el metal, que se hace en un barco, que se hace en medio del océano y que la verdad queremos estar todos ahí. Y bueno, pues obviamente tenemos al amo y señor, al encargado de todo esto. Y bueno, pues tenemos aquí a nuestro amigo. Hi, how are you? What's your name?
I'm Andy. I'm the skipper of 70,000 tons of metal, the original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. Thank you very much for having me here on Gritaradio.
No, thank you for receive us. So we are say to the old audience, we are so fun about this festival. It's crazy. It's in the ocean. It's in the we like all time. How do you start that idea?
Well, it's one of these ideas that actually started with drinking, you know.
Really? Obviously, no. What would you say? I need a make a concert in the boat. Okay, let's do it.
Exactly. You know, look, I started to work in the live music industry already when I was a kid. When back in the school, back in Switzerland, I started promoting concerts. Then later on, I was more a booking agent, and then for almost 15 years, a tour manager. Worked with some Canadian bands too, and I fell in love with the city of Vancouver, Canada. Eventually got an apartment there, just one block from the cruise ship here. So, and it's now 16 years ago.
Really? You're so young.
In 2007. So I was sitting on the balcony with some of my friends in one summer evening, and we saw one of these cruise ships pulling out, going to Alaska. And we were drinking. Obviously, I had one drink too many. And I was like, we need to charter one of these cruise ships and put a heavy metal festival on. All my friends were like, you're completely
crazy. No. You have some drinks.
yeah, of course. They're like, come on, you know, like people will fall overboard and they will sink the ship.
The idea is because you're feeling in your mind the drink, your things like about, no?
Thing is, you know, the next day, I had a big headache from all the drinking, you know, but this idea was still in my head, you know. And I knew everything about the live music industry because I told you, I mean, I was a promoter, a tour manager, a booking agent, and so, but I didn't know anything about cruise ships, right? So I had to go on in total, I went on 13 different ships, you know, to see, because I had my clear vision. I want to build this big open air stage and, in the theater, all these ships, they have a theater, but they're all seated, you know. So I want to take the seats out. So in all these ships, when I went, they always wanted to show me the restaurants and the cabins. And so I don't care about that. So I went in the theaters, like under the seats, you know, like, can I take them out or not? You know?
What to say the managers about the boat? You are crazy or what?
that was one of the two really big obstacles, right? Because not only my friends, everybody else was like, oh, okay. Because look, I mean, maybe in Europe where I grew up, heavy metal is a little bit more established, more mainstream. But in the Americas, there is a different stigma attached to heavy metal, you know, so they were very, very wary. But in the end, I convinced them. That was one of the big obstacles. The biggest obstacle was financing, you know, because if you want to charter a cruise ship, we're talking about millions of dollars, you know, so money that you don't just have. And then an idea,
it's so expensive.
An idea that is new, that has no track record. Like people, of course, you know, like they were also thinking like whatever. So it took me several years. It took me 4 years until the first 70,000 tons of metal in 2011. And that one actually went from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico. This is why Mexico has a very special part in the history of 70,000 tons of metal, you know.
What's the Mexico City for you to the metal? Mexico, the old audience, or there have a lot audience to like the metal?
I mean, look, actually, Mexico City itself is probably one of the biggest heavy metal markets in the entire world, you know.
Like Colombia, no?
Yeah, Colombia too, you know, like, I mean, you know, like all over the world there is metal fans, you know, which is interesting. But here in Mexico, and the people are so passionate, and so it's really cool. And look, on 70,000 tons of metal, we have guests from over 70 different nations. It's funny, the name, 70 nations on 70,000 tons of metal. Sometimes we call it the United Nations of Heavy Metal at Sea. Mm-hmm. But Mexicans are actually the most represented Latin American nation on board. Yes. And not only this, it's actually always amongst the top 5-6 countries on board, So a lot of Mexican fans on 70,000 tons of metal.
Yeah, it's like a Coachella. The people are coming, 30% are coming to the festivals because the Mexican audience is like a musical time, so probably more the metal. How in this boat? How do you select the bands to play each one?
Look, I mean, because almost 2/3 of our audience we call them survivors, right? When they have been, we call them survivors. Almost 2/3 of them are like repeat guests, repeat offenders, right? So we need to make it. I need to keep it interesting. So we always vary the lineup. Like bring new bands every year. Also going to a different destination every year. Like to keep it interesting, and I make sure that there is a wide variety. Like from thrash metal to power metal, and from classic metal to black metal, and from folk metal to industrial metal, like everything, so keeping it a nice mix, so that there is something for everyone. And one of the interesting things, which is probably different from 70,000 tons of metal to all the other metal festivals, every band plays 2 shows. On 2 different stages. And, naturally, because there was over 120 concerts in these 5 days, 4 nights, 2 bands that play simultaneously. When they play again, they don't play against each other, so they play against another band, so everyone on board has a realistic chance to see each of the 60 bands.
Oh, really? It's cool. Bueno, y obviamente nos está diciendo todo lo que incluye estar en el barco, nos incluye todo lo que está pasando en torno a las bandas que está seleccionando. So, when we start the new concert in the boat, when we can take the tickets, how we can go to there, because it's a very great expectation to how do when it's the first time. I think so. It's a bigger great idea to go.
Actually, we're really on time here, and now this is live, so I probably should not spill too many beans, Actually, you can count down the hours until we start announcing the first bands. And this is kind of something a little bit special about 70,000 tons of metal too. We don't just announce the lineup, we announce one band after the other.
When? One band. You can do it.
I cannot.
You can. But some word, a little word.
It actually, keep your fingers crossed. It will start tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. So prepare yourselves. So you're good that we're live here. Now people actually, they actually have. This is already a big surprise. And then, our previous survivors, they can book first. I mean, the dates for the gold survivors, they will be given out tomorrow as well, with the first bands, and people get their booking codes. And then a little bit later, our silver card survivors, and then there will be public sales. Okay. So, and I can't really give you too much information here. I already give you more information than anybody else.
No. Right? Thank you for giving us information, but it's cool.
But there will be some real surprises next year, because we have several bands that actually will play their new album as a exclusive live world album premiere. So people can listen to the new album, can see the bands actually perform their new album in its entirety before anybody else in the world. And another a big special about 70,000 Tons of Metal 2024, there is actually a pretty big band from Latin America. I don't know which country, but
my God,
it's from Latin America, and they will record a live DVD on board.
Oh,
and so
it's the first time to record these shows?
I mean, we had other bands actually already record, but more themselves, for fun, and they they put it somewhere, mainly social media or whatever, so that we have a professional production team that actually records the whole show, and it will be released as a live DVD. This is the first time, and older people can be part of and can be in the whole DVD, but only if they're on 70,000 tons of metal, the original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. You know?
Okay, perfecto. Muy bien. So many people ask us before, how was the security and all thing about to take a great time to the show.
Thing is, like,
because there is drinks all time. There is a rock, maybe dance slam. Probably I'm so no bigger. Probably with another guy put me about to the boat.
The thing is, once again, here comes the stigma with heavy metal, right? Heavy metal is extreme music. Of course, you have a mosh pit and you have people crowd surfing. We have, of course, our festival security on board, a big security force, but we never had any real trouble or anything. Heavy metal, and metalheads, they listen to extreme music and it's extreme shows, but they watch out for each other too. So if you ever see people in a mosh pit and somebody falls, people immediately move apart and will help themselves up. And metalheads
are all time, no?
Exactly. And metalheads are a family too. I've seen this myself on the ship sometimes, somebody passed out because he drank too much, and there is other guys that don't even know him and carry him to his cabin. So this is a nice thing on 70,000 tons of metal, like when you had enough, you only need to go in the elevator and press a button and you go to your cabin and there you can sleep.
Yeah, it's good. Están diciendo que obviamente toda la seguridad está perfecta, no tiene ningún problema. Y bueno, otra de las preguntas que también nos dicen, another question we asked before is, they are teenage people, guys?
Yes. I mean,
if I get kids, probably I go with my kids.
Yes. Look, I mean, the minimum age, because this is for medical reasons, there is like an infirmary on board or whatever, but the minimum age is 6 months. And look, we actually have sometimes families, they come with their kids and with their parents, like 3 generations of the same family on board. And believe it or not, like there is a kindergarten on board. So if you come with your little kids,
Metal Kings, everybody's in black.
You can actually bring your kids to the kindergarten, and the parents can go and see the shows and have some fun.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
How do you think about this idea? Because probably every time when you start the idea to the boat, and that's because you are drink. So some drinks in your head. Probably you think about to the youngs or probably, but how do you think about to the kids?
Well, for me it was, and look, it's like on other cruises too. Unfortunately, not yet.
Okay.
I'll probably
think about to your friends. Probably have kids.
I'll probably have to find the right Mexican girl, and then I'll have kids one day.
Maybe you can learn. You can find a girl today,
and I will learn Spanish. That's for sure. So look, ideas get developed over time, and you see the requirements and you adapt. But this is something that you have on all the cruises, on all the cruises you have kids, and there is so. Except of 6 month minimum. The same thing when a woman is pregnant, she cannot be pregnant for more than 6 months, because then it becomes a medical issue. If there is something, or like, if a child is just a couple of weeks old or whatever, you don't really want to be on a ship.
Is complicated.
Of course, there is doctors on board or whatever. There is an infirmary, but they are not specialized for little kids or whatever. So this is a safety, an insurance reason too, But look, there are these incredible stories. Some people from different continents that met on the boat, and then they come together, and then they come several years, and suddenly they don't come anymore. And it's like, okay, maybe they had enough. And then 2 years later, they come again with their little kid.
Oh, really? It's about love. Do you remember that series, the Love Boat?
Yeah.
Like the plane. Do you remember the plane? The plane is the same.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, yeah. Look, it is something so special. It's hard to describe to people. They have to experience it themselves, you know. And look, one of the things that makes 70,000 tons of metal so special is because there is no VIP areas, there is no backstage, you know. Like everybody is the same. Everybody is the same.
With bands.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, we sell it.
You can eat or drink or eat with the old bands.
Look, there is some musicians that actually sit in the jacuzzis together with the fans and watch the shows. You see sometimes some musicians, they are actually in the front row because they are actually metal fans too, you know, and watch the other bands. And we celebrate this already in the terminal. All the bands, all the fans, and it doesn't matter from the biggest one to the small ones, you know, they all go through the same door. They all go through the same security. They all go through the same check-in. And once you walk over this gangway on board, something happens subconsciously, you know, but not only for the fans, for the bands too, for the musicians, this mutual respect develops because they realize in the true sense of the meaning, we're all on the same boat.
Wow, it's incredible. So we have to do this before to die, right? We have to do this all time with the one time or two time. Probably it's addict to like the boat.
Exactly. It is addictive because I can see it with my survivors. You know, many of them, they come year after year after year after year. So, but it's definitely something that you should check out. Absolutely. It's an experience like no other.
If you know the same, it's the same people all time in the boat, probably you will make a website to register to take time to go because all the people it's come to the boat all time. Probably make it two boats.
Well, the thing is, you know, like, you also don't make two birthday parties or whatever, you know, because otherwise the people always think they are at the wrong party, right? You know, so, and it's like a family and you do not want to split up the family. But, I had ideas and plans already for other cruises, maybe also in on other continents, in other,
to America?
Who knows, you know, before the pandemic.
Probably Mexico to Brazil. In Brazil, the Brazil is a big fan, really.
The thing is, you know, like plans have already been pretty far developed before the pandemic than 3 years ago. Funny enough, you know, I was here in Mexico City really in March of 2020 when everything it's like crazy, you know. So, of course, these plans, they take years and then the whole pandemic happened. So it all got delayed and it's much, much harder. Now everything starts up again, but these ideas are not dead. So it stays interesting, but 70,000 tons of metal will stay always in January, beginning of February, sailing from.
When did it start? What country? Miami.
From Miami.
It's Miami too?
It's, and we go to a different destination each year, you know. So as I told you, the very first one actually went to Cozumel. In Mexico, we also have been south of Playa del Carmen. The port is called Costa Maya. We've been to the Cayman Islands. We've been to Jamaica. We've been to Haiti. We've been to Turks and Caicos. And next year, we set sail in Miami on the 29th of January. And we sail to a country and to a place we have never been before. We go to Puerto Plata in República Dominicana.
Mira, muy bien, perfecto. Probably, maybe you know some girl in República.
We'll see.
Or Mexico. You're traveling about to the other countries, probably.
The thing is, you know, like I have no time, you know, at least not during the cruise, because my job is to make sure that 3,000 of the most crazy metal fans around the world and all these bands have the time of their life, you know.
Okay, perfecto. Pero no solo él, only not you. All time, the people go to the boat. Maybe know some girl or not for you. If I go, probably maybe or add it.
Now you're really pushing it.
Y bueno, eso es obviamente.
I do a lot of interviews, you know, but I never had to talk about my private life, you know. This is cool.
Yeah, I know. Because you're in the boat, probably if you are make all the time the concert, you need to make fun all time or all time is in the boat, you'll make a lot of friends.
Yeah, and that's right too. You know, I mean, this is really crazy. You know, for me, I was just this guy that had a crazy idea. And look, in the past, when I was a tour manager and stuff, you know, I was always walking around with my all areas pass. You know, I have all the control over everything, but I can walk through the audience and nobody fucking knows me, you know?
Do you feel better in the boat?
It's still strange, you know, because some people think that I'm some kind of rock star or whatever. And I get recognized on the street. People already recognize me here in Mexico City on the street, in Tokyo, in the subway, in Toronto at the airport, in Hamburg on the street or whatever, or somewhere when I go and buy my cheese, you know, like it's, hey, Skipper, you know, it's like, oh,
you're most famous about the bands.
On the ship sometimes, yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Bueno, pues obviamente es una gran experiencia, es una manera increíble de pasar los mejores conciertos. In September we are going to the Riot Fest. Do you know that festival?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to go to the Riot Fest. You have to go to now another experience. It's a new experience. If you don't make this experience, you have to do one time in the life.
And I will do this as long as I can, hopefully until the day I die. So there is not going to be only a 70,000 tons of metal next year. There's going to be many, many, many afterwards. So I would really hope that as many people also here from Mexico will come and join us in the future.
Perfect. So for the end to the interview, why 70,000 metals? Why the name?
All right. So when I started this crazy idea, we were in a smaller ship. It was called the Majesty of the Seas. And that ship had 73,941 tons displacement. Now that number doesn't really sound cool, you know, so I made it 70,000 tons, right?
I can remember the van, metal van.
Look, I mean, the funny thing is I drew this logo myself, you know,
Oh, really?
And now, there is people that have this logo tattooed. I know of some girls that have it tattooed on their back, so I can't change the name. It is a registered trademark. It is a registered trademark. Now we're on a much bigger ship. Actually, the ship now that we're sailing now, the Freedom of the Seas, it has over 154,000 tons. So it's actually 2.2 times 70,000 tons. But you can't change the name, you know? I mean, these people have the name tattooed and whatever, you know? But this is actually where the name comes from, you know?
Perfect. Ahí está el nombre también porque se le ocurrió y obviamente es una gran idea, es una gran, pues una gran experiencia que se debe de hacer. Y so you have to invite to the audience to go to this concert, a different concert.
Hey, listeners of Gritaradio, this is Andy, the skipper of 70,000 tons of metal, the original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. And it would be my humble pleasure to welcome you next year on January 29th in Miami, Florida, when we set sail once again for 70,000 tons of metal to a new destination that we've never been before, to Puerto Plata in República Dominicana. I really hope to see you there. Yeah.
Ahí está, obviamente no se lo pueden perder. Y bueno, pues ya lo platicamos, ya lo dijimos, no se lo pueden perder. Mañana, tomorrow, they start a new band.
We start announcing the bands, yes.
Ahí está, ya mañana nos va a decir obviamente quiénes van a estar. Y bueno, pues si no lo compran desde ahorita, se les va a ir. Y cuando vean el line-up va a estar increíble. Así es que no se lo pueden perder. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a real pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on Gritaradio.
Thank you. Nosotros vamos, seguimos con más. Nos enlazamos un ratito más porque todavía hay mucha información. Nos vamos a hacer otra entrevista en un ratito más, así es que no se la pueden perder. Continuamos con más aquí en Gritaradio.